El día de hoy tenemos un programa súper especial que creo nos hacía mucha falta a toda la comunidad latina sobre todo. Tenemos aquí al sargento Bill Dodd, espero estar pronunciando eso bien. Y bueno, vamos a hablar un poquito sobre todo y crear una conexión positiva. Ya verán que está muy interesante. Hello, how are you, Bill?
Good. How are you, Nash?
Very happy to have you here, finally.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the police service here in Calgary. How can you explain what it is, Calgary Police Service here in Calgary? Because it's so much different to what we're used to in our countries.
Right. Well, the Calgary Police Service is a municipal police department. So the police are kind of separated into federal, provincial, or municipal police services. The federal police service is the RCMP, and that is kind of a national police service. And they they're responsible for more national interests, or a lot of provinces contract them to do police services in rural areas. In the larger cities in Canada, the police services are all municipal police services, and that means each city, large city, has their own police service, and that police service is governed by a provincial oversight committee and by a police commission, and that police commission is made up of aldermen or councillors from the city, as well as citizens from the city. So in the police services, the police are at an arm's length from the government and are responsible to the citizens of the city or the province or the country, and that's the way it's set up here. So Calgary's had a police service for well over 100 years, and it was for the longest time called the Calgary Police Force. A number of years ago, probably 30, 40 years ago, the name was changed to the Calgary Police Service. And that's a big difference, the difference between a force and a service. And what a service means is that it is a service to the citizens of the city, and it's a part of the community. It's responsible to the citizens of the city. It's a part of the citizenship, and it's not a part of the government. So it's not, I think in a lot of different areas in the world, the police are seen as an arm of the government or a tool of the government, where here it is a service to the citizens and is not controlled by the government.
Okay, which is so nice, right? That we don't have that idea that we have to do what they say because they are the ones who have the rules and we have to respect them. And if they're part of the community, it's so much friendly and so easy to get along and to actually understand how it works.
Right, and you know, that's all about community-based policing too. And what community-based policing is all about is responding to the community, being part of the community, and responding to the community's needs. And to do that, we have to connect with community. We have to do things like this, where we talk to community, get the input from community, and that's really what drives the Calgary Police Service and what they do and where they put their priorities. A lot of the things that we do are, of course, governed by a lot of different statutes, right? We all have to abide by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, by the Police Act, by a lot of different rules and regulations, and that's what governs the police service. We don't make up the rules for ourselves. The rules are made by the citizens and of the country and of the city, and then the police service follows those rules. And those rules are very well laid out and well defined. As we were talking about before, when people talk to the police or the police interact with people, there are a number of rules and steps and rules that we all have to follow. If a person is stopped by the police and talked to by the police over, say, potentially a criminal matter, so the police are arresting you or detaining you, you have to be informed of your rights. You have to know what your rights are. The police are obligated to tell you that you don't have to talk to the police if you don't want to, if you choose not to. That you have the right to talk to a lawyer if you choose to do so. You have the right at any time to stop talking to the police if you choose to do so. And those rights and responsibilities have to be told to you in any language you understand. So if you speak Spanish, for instance, and you don't understand English, it is the responsibility of the police officer to make sure that you are given those rights in Spanish to a point that you can say back to the interpreter, I understand what my rights and responsibilities are, and I either agree to talk or I don't agree to talk. So it's not your responsibility to find out those rights because you don't speak that language. It's the police's responsibility.
anyone from any country that comes here and doesn't understand what he's saying, he has the right to ask.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He has the right to understand what's happening to him, and if that means we have to provide interpretation into another language, that's what we have to do.
Nice. Can you think of five, or I don't know, a few common things that people that are not from Canada do that it's a no, please don't do it?
Well, I think there's, as we talked about as well, unfortunately, in a lot of places in the world, the police do things differently. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of control issues and things like that. So I've heard, it hasn't. I've traveled in different places in the world, and I haven't experienced it personally, but I've heard a lot of people who have experienced where it's typical to bribe a police officer, or if you get stopped in driving your car, to pay them off right there, or to kind of handle things in a different way, and that's not the case here in Canada. I mean, I have experienced as a police officer. I've been a police officer for over 20 years, where people have kind of assumed that the police here might handle things the same way they've handled things in the country they came from. And when I've stopped them for a traffic violation, thinking, well, if I can just handle it here and $50 will settle my traffic infraction, it's more of an education point for people. And the experiences I've had is people aren't being rude, or they're not being deceitful, really. They're just doing things the way they've kind of always done them, and they kind of assume that happens the same way. So for us, it's more of an education point to say, you know what, I get paid well here. I get paid well for my job, and I don't need to make any extra income by taking bribes on the side, and that's not appropriate in Canada. And actually, it can get you in a lot of trouble to try to do that. And so to be very careful, to learn the roles and responsibilities of the police here and the citizens, because that could be a lot of misunderstanding and miscommunication that could wind you up in some more trouble than you planned to be on, right?
Okay. So no sobornos para nada. Okay, and then is there a website where they can find more information, like educational stuff?
Yeah, the Calgary Police Service has a website, calgarypolice.ca, and in that website they can navigate around and find about different volunteer opportunities or recruiting opportunities. The Calgary Police Service, one thing I should say too right now is the Calgary Police Service is in the midst of hiring a lot of people. We are very, very, very short of people. There's a lot of people retiring. It's one of the only police services in Canada that is hiring at the rate they are. So if people are interested in potentially having a career as a police officer, there couldn't be a better time for them to apply. And you can go to the website and find out about all the requirements that are required for that. Volunteering as well, but also about different programs the Calgary Police Service offers, things like that. Currently, a lot of the website is in English only, but as we change and as we move forward, we're working on moving more and more and more parts of that to be able to be accessed in different languages as well.
Okay, so for the volunteering and all that, they would have to go on the website, get all the information, and then get in contact, I guess?
Yeah, on the website is the contact information of where you would send your information or who you would call. That would be the best place, and then kind of go through the requirements. I would caution people, though, not to, if they have further questions, to contact somebody and come in and talk to somebody. Talk to somebody in the volunteering area or the recruiting area or the diversity resources team, because sometimes there can be some miscommunication, or they're not quite sure about what those kind of things are on the website, and so that kind of face-to-face conversation usually kind of would clear up any kind of misunderstandings around that.
Okay, and there's something super interesting that not too many people know of, and your diversity team. So how does that work? And I don't know for how long it's been here.
Well, the Calgary Police Service has a diversity resources team that is 11 members. It's 10 what we call sworn members, so 10 police officers and 1 civilian member. And it has been in existence since 1979. Wow. So it's been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. It is the largest diversity team of its kind of any municipal police service in Canada, probably one of the largest ones in North America. There's another agency within Alberta, another large municipal agency, who have just started a diversity team with 1 person. So when he was down here talking to us here the other day, he was kind of amazed to find out that we have 11 people doing what he's trying to do as one person. So we're very, very fortunate here to have a team. And the idea of the diversity team is that we recognize that we need to engage community to be a successful police service. We need to have the engagement of citizens. 2,000 police officers cannot effectively police a city of 1.3, 1.4 million people. We need to have the active encouragement, participation of the citizens of Calgary. And we understand that a lot of people in Calgary come from diverse backgrounds or come from other areas, come from different experiences where their experiences with police aren't the same or aren't very positive. And so they are very hesitant to engage with the police, or, they wouldn't, maybe if they were in trouble with the country they came from, they wouldn't call the police, right? That'd be the last person they would call. Where here we want to encourage them to call the police, because the only way we are going to be successful is if we engage with each other. So we've recognized that there's going to be an extra effort on the part of the police service needs to be made to reach out to those people. And so if we can dedicate resources or people that their job is 40 hours a week to liaise with people from different communities, to liaise, to break down those barriers, that will be more successful. And I think that the Calgary's model is extremely successful. Other police services kind of examine on why we have been successful in breaking down some of those barriers. I mean, we have a long ways to go, right? There's still a lot of mistrust or misapprehension or misunderstanding of the police. But we are very fortunate to have what we have. Even we talk about we have a liaison officer for the South Asian community. Well, Calgary has a huge South Asian population. So it seems, what can one person do, right? To be that liaison officer for, 60, 70,000 South Asian people within Calgary. But to have that, we're very fortunate, right? So their job is to, listen to the community, find out what some of the issues are within the community. How can we better respond to that? How can we engage better? One of the things we talked about when we talk about volunteerism is that we had heard that a number of people that are coming from different places in the world, they don't have their foreign credentials recognized for employment opportunities. And so when they come here and they talk to people who are helping them trying to get employment, one of the things that the people who are trying to help them get employment tell them all the time is, one thing you do in Canada that's very helpful is start to volunteer. So volunteer at different areas, volunteer at companies, volunteer at different organizations, because it looks good on a resume. You network with people, you get to know people, and that's a very valuable thing to try to get employment here. So here's a pool of people who are new to Canada who have been told you should volunteer. We as the police service want people to volunteer with us, especially people who have different abilities, language abilities, skills, understandings. They're very valuable people for us to have, and that's not going to cost us anything. They're going to volunteer. But one of the barriers we heard from the community was you couldn't volunteer with the police service unless you'd been in Canada for 3 years. So they brought that up to us through our liaison with the diverse communities, and we said, you're right. That seems like a very bad idea. Who can make those changes for us, right? And they said, you have the opportunity. Let's talk to the chief of police, because if anybody can make changes, it's him. So these people from our advisory boards get to meet with the chief of police 3 times a year. And at one of those meetings, they brought up, Chief, there's a lot of people who would like to volunteer, but this has been a barrier for them for a number of times. They send in their interest to volunteer. They get a letter back saying, I'm sorry, you haven't been here for 3 years. That's the end of the process. So they told him that was a barrier. You know what? He agreed with them. He said, you're right. Seems like a silly barrier. Why don't we get rid of it? So with basically the stroke of a pen, we've gotten rid of the 3-year residency requirement. And now instead, when a person wants to volunteer, we'll come and we'll meet with you and we'll talk to you. And there will be a panel of people who will discuss it. And we'll make a judgment call about, you might not have been here for 3 years, but you really do seem like a really good person, a really genuine person, the kind of the person the Calgary Police Service wants to be involved with, needs. And so we're going to give you a chance to volunteer with us. It's going to be a benefit for you, and it's going to be a benefit for us. So those kind of changes to break down those barriers, it's an ongoing process. There are other barriers. And a lot of times being within the police service, you don't recognize those barriers unless you're a person outside that's
Outside,
trying to
yeah.
get in, and then you realize these barriers. But if we have that ability to communicate with each other, we'll find out what those are, and we'll make the changes if it's appropriate.
Okay, well, very nice. And we can get all this information also with the police officer that is in charge of our community.
Right.
Like we can get to them. Yeah.
Yes, and the police service has not only liaison officers for diverse communities, every area of the city has a police officer who is a community liaison officer. And their job within that community is to do the same kind of thing, is to pass out information or get information, respond to community issues. Because, like I said, it's all about community engagement. It's all about that communication, finding out what the needs of the community are and responding to it, right? Finding out what the needs of the police services and engaging the community to help us solve those problems. Because to create a safer community where we all want to live and raise our children, we're going to have to work together.
Exactly. I didn't know that either. Like each community has their own
Each
police.
community has their own.
That's so nice. Okay, well, thank you so much. Is there a message you would like to give all the Latin American community here in Calgary?
I would say for the Latin American community is get to know your police officer in your community, in your school, your children. Contact the Calgary Police Service. If there's ever time you need help, any time you ever have any questions, don't be hesitant to contact the police. The police here want that contact with the community. We need that contact with the community to be successful.
Thank you so much. It's been really nice. And is there a place where, besides, I don't know, do you guys have Twitter, Facebook, and all that?
Twitter, Facebook, yeah, their social media, yeah, there's all that kind of stuff is available through the Calgary Police Service website.
Okay, very nice. Okay, well, thank you so much again.
You're welcome.